All right. I hit the magic button.
Excellent. Hello,
Let's see what
everyone.
happens.
We are now live. So, hi, Ian. Sorry that you're not feeling well.
What are you gonna
Well
do?
done for showing up.
I can't keep canceling on you. This is yeah, it just seems like it's been a nonstop run of whatever, your vacation, you're sick, my sick, whatever. So I'm like, no, it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen.
Okay. Well, good to have you here and be able to have the chat. Uh, let's see where we're going to go with this. So, I, I propose this self-commitment idea. So, what did we decide on the title? I know you put it
Uh,
in.
I
Just put it
basically
in.
took all your words and mashed them together and put them back out at you. So being
Yeah,
disciplined,
you did.
commitment to yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought this was timely because January seems to be a time of year that people go, right, this is what I'm gonna do.
This is
And
the
then yeah, yeah, this is the year. Yeah, it's all of that. And it's like, well, I've done a bit of that as well. And I like the energy that's around the beginning of this year. It feeling good. And yet falling off the wagon is also occurring.
Mm.
And I thought it would be fun to tackle some of the reasons why I can see that happening for me as well, and just see if that might trigger or not trigger, help others see what might be making them fall off the track a little bit. So here comes my
Here we go.
reveal. Before Christmas, it's always the lead up to Christmas, right? There's hampers that arrive, and then there's these, and you have to have the Christmas puddings, and then there's the mince pies. Oh my goodness. And then there's all the excuses. Well, we've got to get the food out of the house, right? So you got to eat it all. You can't waste
No,
it.
can't put it in the garbage, can't give it away. Yep.
Anyway, so that's all leading up to Christmas. And then we went on a 10-day cruise.
Oh, so now you're piling on the piling on.
One advantage of the cruise, though, is I got in 10,000 steps a day.
Hmm.
So that was a win. And then we get back from the cruise and I scored a 3-week flu, which sounds like I've given it to you because I started off with losing my voice and then chest infection. So let's hope you don't get the chest infection.
Thank God.
Um, so there's been all these almost, I'm going to call them for what they are, excuses for
Hmm.
eating badly and making choices that maybe didn't commit to what it is that I'd committed to. On top of this, we do have my daughter's wedding this year, and it'd be nice to just make this. We want to encourage her to, for both her and her fiance to be in their best possible place, both, like they're in a really good place emotionally, but also this is their wedding day, their wedding year. Maybe they could be there physically as well. And I get it, it's
Hmm.
all their choices, but we kind of want to be role modeling for that as well. So Renz and I went, right, we're going to commit to this calorie deficit and we'll get to the gym more regularly from the moment we get back from the cruise on the 7th of January. Well, I'd done really well. Even though I'd been sick and my chest was not functioning at its best, psychologically, I had the get up and go to get to the gym. My physical body didn't have the get up and go. So I could kind of, it was this funny thing. I could go like what I would normally do is full capacity, but I couldn't last as long because I just didn't have the breathing and I'd be breaking into coughing fits, which is not good. And then I noticed it started to chip away at me and became another reason not to get to the gym. And so I had to push through that. So that was the first one that I was like, oh, no, don't make that an excuse not to get back to the gym. And then I also, one of my other little vices that has been an ongoing vice. I love this story within me. It's such a story. Anyway, one of my vices is to eat chocolate. I have a sweet tooth. Again, I say that I don't have to have a sweet tooth. I just choose to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, However, I convinced myself a few years ago that, I was being good because I was going to protein orientated chocolate, not real chocolate, because there's a difference.
There's milk in my chocolate. Keep going. Yep.
Okay. So I, and I've been doing that for the last few years, which the habits are the same, right?
Mhm.
It's like, sure, there might be less sugar, but I don't know that I'm eating less sugar as a result, really, because I feel I can have more of the protein chocolate. There's this really weird thing goes on. So the other commitment I made for this year was none of that chocolate.
None.
None.
Okay.
Now, still got the problem that there is still some of that chocolate sitting in the pantry and you can't go to waste. So that's still an element, but I had managed in the first 2 or 3 weeks to not touch the chocolate. And I'm like, okay, you've got this, Chris. You're doing good. And during this week, I had a day where it was a pretty cruisy day. I had not a lot on, and I was sitting around, I was doing a little bit of watching Netflix type thing, and that's usually when I default to eating chocolate. That's when a habit kicks in of, oh, I'm bored, I have to do something with my hands. And I was so proud of myself on that day because I didn't do the chocolate. And then the next day came around and suddenly I just had this burning urge to eat the chocolate. I had some form of willpower, which I know is ridiculous because it's not about willpower, but it felt like it was willpower. And I only had two bars, two lines of it rather than the whole block.
Baby steps. Baby
Anyway,
steps.
uh, and then the following day, I completely broke and went, nah, that was not satisfying at all. And I had the whole block. And it was interesting because I was looking at, well, what made me do that?
Hmm.
Normally, it would be that I'm sitting around and I'm a bit bored, so I eat because I'm bored. Or the other reason that I use chocolate as a vice is when I'm in pain. Usually it's physical back pain, like, and I can't get comfortable, and I just want the chocolate or the sweet stuff to make me feel more comfortable. It's this weird thing that I've got going on. I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world that has this, but I do identify that when I'm in pain, I default to chocolate. It's a quick, easy resource for me.
I think there is something to actually the sugar giving you a chemical hit that makes you feel less pain. I think there is something to that.
Yeah, but it creates other problems, right? When you default to that, but I noticed that that day I didn't have any physical pain. It was a super busy day, and I don't actually know what made me not be able to resist. And I just had to have the chocolate. And it was like, wow, I thought I'd found all my vice, like all the things that were running my vices.
So all the things that trigger you to dip into the chocolate drawer or whatever.
And there's another hidden one. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm proving to myself that I've got the discipline.
Hmm.
And then as soon as I proved one day that I had it, I just started to slightly divert and I gave myself justifications and reasons to completely fall off the track. So I highlighted that. I decided to, well, not only did it become very relevant, because literally this is in this week, this has happened this week. So the day that I messaged you with the idea for this
Hmm.
topic was the day that I realized that I defaulted and I'd come off the track. And I also mentioned it to my husband because I wanted to verbalize it out loud and
Hmm.
go, I don't know. Do you, like, I was kind of asking him, what else? have I been like, as he noticed in me that would maybe something I'm not seeing for myself that I don't know, was it overwhelm? Was it, I don't know, exhaustion? What else had he noticed? He couldn't pick anything. And in the um normally I wouldn't talk to him about that because I would feel guilty because I'd eaten the whole log of chocolate and I wouldn't want to confess and just sort of be hidden and all of that. But I verbalized it to him and then yesterday didn't touch it.
What what was your hope in sharing this particular topic? Being disciplined, commitment to yourself.
That we to help acknowledge that we can be disciplined and at the same time fall off the track. And through that discipline, we can get back on track. And it's going to be a human behavior that we all divert periodically, but it's really about getting back on track on what we want to do instead of doing the beat up to go, oh, well, oh, I committed to this thing. I fell off the wagon. I'm done now. It's about being able to come back on and go, okay, no, no, I had a small diversion, but I'm back on track and staying in less of the beat up, which is what I was doing because I was starting to feel guilty about the fact that I couldn't work out what had dropped me off the track, so to speak. And I really wanted to just be reminded for myself that mistakes are going to happen. Frailties in my commitment are going to happen. Cracks in that commitment are going to happen. And it's about how quickly I can find those cracks and get back onto the commitment.
I would want to reframe the way that you look at it a little bit. Just
Oh,
from an outsider looking in, because I know, trust me, I've been on enough streams of activity of either working out or eating or not eating or whatever over the course of my life. I get it. I know what that's like. And the whole feeling of falling off a wagon and then eating the whole box. I get that. Trust me, I've had many boxes of things or bags of things. Yeah, I get it. But if it's the consistency in general that keeps us moving forward and gets us closer to our goals, whatever the goal is. So th each of these times you misstep, there are opportunities to be aware of why you misstep. So I don't consider them missteps anymore. I consider them part of the process so that you can get those things back under control. So what I want to celebrate here is you going, "Hey, hubby, did you I did something. I feel a little ashamed, a little guilty, whatever. However, did you notice something in me that I missed?" So it shows that you're curious, that you want to know and get an awareness of what it is that got you off track. Because you seem to have beaten down some of them, but there's always going to be new ones or ones that were dormant or have been sleeping for a long time that have been awakened. Maybe because you shut off a bunch of the other ones, like, oh, now it's my turn. They don't remember
yep.
me. Guilt. Wow, wow, that's a box of chocolate for sure. So yeah, it's for me, it's the awareness, being aware of where things fall off the track. The other thing I wanted to highlight here is if you're if you're tapped into your deeper why of the thing that the reason why you want to do the thing. A lot of people don't they have a belief that they want to be or look or become a certain way, but they don't know really why other than, it would be good or like I would look good and but why? What's the deeper why underneath it? And if you know what that is, that's your fuel. That's your willpower. That's your discipline, right? It's being connected to why I'm doing this. I want to be around longer. I want to show my kids. I want to be the model for them so that they see that it's a possibility too, whatever. And being tied to that, that's the deeper why. That's the important part.
Yes. And acknowledging that there are missteps along the way and how much does that then eat away at my self-commitment, right? Because that did seem to eat away at at it and then had to go, oh, okay, why? You're right. Why am I really doing this? Why am I choosing not to eat those snacks during the day? Okay, just keep that in mind. Right, another day done. And sometimes I have to psychologically just get through the next hour.
Mhm.
Or, um, oh, we got to last night and I was like, we'd had a really nice meal and I was like, oh, I want to go back for seconds. And instead I drank water. Nothing like water to convince your body you're full.
And sometimes it's having a bit more knowledge about how the systems work. Like I remember when I did fasting for 6 months. So every other day I would only eat uh after a certain time. I would eat between like 2 and 6 o'clock at night. That was the only time I ate every other day. The other day was completely normal, didn't mess with anything. But when I was doing this, I was reading a lot about fasting and trying to figure out and understand like the physical, how
The
does this work?
science. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you start learning about like the hormones that make you feel hungry, that actually only lasts a pretty short period of time before it like kicks back into like a normal feeling. So if you know this is only a 20-minute craving, I'm good, right? But if you don't know that that 20 minutes is not going to go away, you're just going to sit
It
in
could
front of the
be
cupboard looking for whatever to satisfy that, scratch that itch.
because otherwise it's going to be the longest 20 minutes that never ends, right?
So for me, your curiosity to ask for help in observing what you can't see is part of that knowledge. It's part of that being curious and inquisitive about yourself, to keep you in a more stable place.
And I mean, the other thing is that as I'm changing some of the choices that I'm making, both physically, like what I'm putting in my mouth, how much, what portions, all of these sorts of things, and just being, it's more being really conscious about what I'm choosing to do. Uh, I also noticed that the other gauge that you look at is the actual weight, the physical weight, and whether that's moving and getting impacted by that. And it's like the the lull, like you go, oh look, yeah, we came back from the cruise and it was all water retention because the amount of salt and sugar in all of the foods on that boat is stupid.
Yeah, for sure.
So the first week or two, it was like, right, we just drop right down because it's all the water retention all settles. We get the right sort of balance of sugar and salt back into our normal
Body goes back to normal,
world.
more or less.
And then we need to start to, and then you get the stabilizing happening. And
Mm,
there's different ways that things are moving. And then it occurred to me that it's interesting. Sure, this I'm talking about the physical, I'm talking about getting to the gym, doing the exercise, the food intake, those sorts of things. But then it's that, like you said, what am I committing to, like on a deeper level, and where is that playing out in the rest of my world? Because if I'm committing over here, I'm also actually needing to make sure that it crosses over into everything else that I'm doing, because then that makes it easier to maintain.
mm. Like
And so if
seeing how this interlinks with everything else. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I this is just a thought. If we were to get to the deeper why of, so yes, let's say the role modeling of the physical, what that could be by making small changes, then what else could I do across the rest of my world, in my work and in my relationships, which are the two other primaries for me? But it could apply to finances as well. What could I do to change just a little bit every day? It mightn't, like you could change it on the bank account, less spending online. I don't know, anything that may not make a difference day to day, but by the time you get into 6 months later, it will look and feel a bit different.
For sure.
And maybe applying that would help support the eating choices and the getting to the gym and that kind of commitment if you applied the commitment across everything, not just one area,
Micro changes.
across everything.
Now, I would caution anybody not to try to change everything all at once because that's rife for failure. But more like the ingraining of a new habit or small habit, and getting that really consistent.
Yeah, and making the why appropriate, like finding the why that could go across everything.
So what do you think the why is that goes across everything then for this?
For me personally,
Yeah, if it's not too personal.
uh, um, I I think it's actually the uh I'm just getting older and I need to make sure that I'm I can cope with whatever older offers. So it's like preempting that, I don't know, perimenopause is a bit of a dodge city because everything aches.
Yeah.
And um I I I don't want to be doing that achy thing and making and finding that normalized when I'm 60.
Mm.
I just don't. So if I do all the stuff now to increase my capacity to cope with life, actively increase things rather than just accepting that, oh, well, that's what happens when you're 53, or that's what happens now that you've got, I don't know, whatever the societal expectation is that, oh, now this happens, and actively not going against it, but actually putting some things in place to counteract it,
Yeah,
to
that's awesome.
boost myself.
Yeah, so you're taking an active role in your longevity and health, and because your reality doesn't have to be everybody else's reality.
No, it doesn't. And yet are so influenced by others' reality.
I can just hear, maybe it's not fair, but I can like hear my parents' voice or my mom's voice saying something like, sorry, mom, if you're watching, but like, well, that's what happens, you get a little older and things start to hurt or think anyways.
Oh, I'm going to dump my mother-in-law in that one too. She does. She says that sort of stuff a lot. Like, and I
Yeah,
get it.
that's
It's
just
the
what happens when you get
experience.
older. No, I refuse. I will not accept this. My knees are gonna be fine. I don't care if there's no cartilage left in there. They're sticking together. Anyways, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
So,
And not being influenced. You're right. Not just by social media or all those outside things, but also those other voices that have been in our heads for many years, just due to the eras we grew up in and the influence of what they were told
yeah.
that then influences us. So yeah, I think the other reason I wanted to raise this subject is to just let people know that it's if you've made a commitment to something and you finding the discipline is not quite as in place as you'd like, that just keep choosing to get back onto the self-commitment.
Mhm.
I'm doing that. Some days are easier than others, apparently. And hopefully today, I mean, it's only well, mid-morning for me here. So I've still got the rest of the day to ensure that I keep making those conscious choices and need to make sure I do that every day.
Right, and checking in from time to time to see if you're still conscious or did you slip into a bit of an unconscious mode. I know we're a little late in our half hour to bring up my story, but I'll bring it up anyways. I I took this from a different place because I realized that I was unconscious in an area. I started getting into games on my phone, right? And there's always an ad for another one and another one and another one. But I got into this one, and all it is it's just multiples of four. So it is blocks that drop, you put them in place, and if you get them together, they go up in multiples of four.
Okay.
It's easy enough, and if the thing fills up like Tetris, you die. Okay, great. But when you die, an ad comes up and says, "Oh, you can for if you watch another ad, you'll get enough money to be able to continue.
Or
You
you get a new power up, or you get a
whatever, right?"
whatever.
And I was spending hours on this game, and all it does, it just keeps going up by four. I was into the millions. My blocks were in the millions, the 4 millions, the 32 millions, and it never ends if you don't want it
Yeah.
to. But the reason I'm bringing it up was I was wasting copious amounts of time in this game that has no purpose, doesn't make me smarter in the least. And I noticed that I was neglecting other things. I was staying up later than I wanted to on the game or whatever just to get to the next level. And I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do for me. So I had to become aware and become conscious that, okay, what's important to me?
Yeah.
Obviously
What are
not
you
the game.
choosing?
What am I choosing? I'm choosing this over time with my kid or over quality sleep or whatever. And it's just this spiral that doesn't help me. And I ended up deleting the game. I'm it didn't take me long to, break the band. I'm okay. I'm not gonna go back and put it back on. But it was it's weird when you kind of get into a lull and you can stay there for a long time. So becoming aware of what's more important to me, why is it important that I don't play the game? Okay, time with my kids, good quality sleep, whatever, right? And yeah, it makes the quitting of the thing a lot easier when you know how much it's supporting you.
And it comes back to the why, like you said,
Hmm.
right? If you've got the why, then it's not even a decision.
Yeah, it was yeah. It's not important, but it's
Yeah,
important.
it's yeah, and coming from a okay, now I choose this
Hmm.
is the
And
and
there's
yeah,
empowerment in that as well, right? Taking control back of your life, your device, your stuff, so that you're moving in a direction that serves you and others in a more dramatic way.
yeah, and continuing to make that choice every time. Yeah. And that's the discipline. There we go.
So
Thanks for letting me share some of my vices.
they don't sound that horrible. Uh,
Oh,
all
okay.
right. Well, thanks everybody.
It can feel a bit. Oh, I've
It
still got that to deal with.
it can, but you're in a good place.
Awesome.
All right. Hopefully
Well,
that was helpful for somebody paying attention tonight. And
and be well, Ian. We'll see you
be
soon.
well. Yeah. Let's do that. I'll be well. All right.
Okay.
And I think we've got a little bit of a break coming up again, and we'll be back probably in about a month's time.
Yeah, about that. Yep.
All right.
Close to that. All right.
All right. Take care,
See
everybody.
everyone soon. Bye.
Bye.